It all started with a phone call from the United Nations in 1993. They called my office. I was the Bishop of California. My office is at Grace Cathedral. And the United Nations said they wanted to come back to San Francisco for the 50th anniversary of the signing of the Charter of the United Nations. And they wanted to have a big service at Grace Cathedral. Would that be okay? So I said, sure, I'd love to have you. And they said, well, our vision is to have all the nations of the world have ambassadors there. So we have 185 ambassadors from the United Nations. We'll bring them to San Francisco and have a big service. And we want to have all the religions of the world at that service. So if you don't mind, could you just bring all the religions of the world to the service? I said, well, I don't know a lot of Hindus and Muslim, et cetera, but I'll give it a try. I went to bed that night. It was a cold February night, and I was thinking, goodness gracious, I don't know anything about other religions. But then I began to think about nations on the one hand and religions on the other hand. And the nations have gotten together every day for 50 years to struggle together for the good of the world. In the same 50 years, the religions of the world have not met for 1 minute to struggle together for the good of the world. I lay there in bed, February 1993, and I made a vow to God. I said, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what it would look like, but I will commit the rest of my life to being a catalyst for the creation of a united religions, so that someday there will be a United Nations and a United Religions. And that was it. As simple as that. I didn't know what I was doing, didn't know anything about interfaith. I didn't know religious leaders of the world. I didn't have any money. I didn't know what kind of setup needed to be set up. But I decided I would just throw myself wholeheartedly into the task. By the way, I was the Bishop of California, serving the 6 counties of the Bay Area. I had 87 churches. I had 40 schools. I had 65 facilities, housing homeless, alcohol, drug rehabilitation, immigration, a hospital, a camp, and 400 priests, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't have a lot of time, but I decided I would make time. So I committed my life to that task. And so every day from 1995 till I retired from being the bishop, I had 2 jobs. One was with the church and one was with the religions of the world. So then I thought, well, I ought to get in an airplane and fly around the world and talk to the Pope and the Dalai Lama and Mother Teresa and the Archbishop of Canterbury and the Chief Rabbi in Jerusalem and the Grand Mufti and the Sheikh of Al-Azhar and the head of Wan Buddhism. And so sure enough, I just got in an airplane with my wife, Mary, who was fabulous. And the 2 of us took off. And actually, we did meet the Pope. And we did go up to Dharamsala and meet the Dalai Lama. We did go to Cairo and meet the Grand Mufti and the Sheikh of Al-Azhar. We did go to London and meet the Archbishop of Canterbury. We went every place. I always ask them one question. Are you willing to sit in a room with leaders from other religions to pursue peace among religions? Because if we got more peace among religions, it would change world history. So I ask them all the same question. Are you willing to sit in a room with leaders from other religions and really work at it? And they said, absolutely not. So at the end of my 3 months of traveling the world, I was sitting in Tübingen, Germany with Hans Küng, the great theologian. And I said, I'm a big failure. I went to the religious leaders and they're not going to do that. And he said, well, you have two ways to go. You could either go with religious leaders or you could go with grassroots people. But I must say that there was a moment there in Tübingen, Germany, when I thought, okay, I'm a failure. Just give it up. It's not going to work. But then the more I thought about, I made a vow to be a husband. I made a vow to be a priest. I made a vow to start a United Religions. And going to have to stick with the vow. So what I did was I met a lot of people along the way. So I got 45 friends from around the world, and we met at the Fairmont Hotel in 1996. And we decided to go for it. We decided that it had to be grassroots. It had to be men and women. It had to be indigenous. And so we were going to get started, but how to get started? I went to a bank in San Francisco and I got a line of credit for $1 million. So I hired 4 people. We started doing interfaith conferences in Argentina, in England, in New York, in various places around the world. And all of a sudden we began to meet an awful lot of very dedicated, fabulous grassroots people of all kinds of religions and indigenous traditions. So we decided to bring them to Stanford University in the summer, and we did for 3 years, 1997, 98, 99, and we wanted to write a charter, and we wanted to become a community. Well, I went to the person who invented the Visa card, Dee Hock, and I asked Dee, the thing that you did with banking to make it viable all over the world, can I do that with the United Religions of grassroots people? And he said, yeah, we could do that, but you'll have to sit in a room with me for 3 years. So we got a bunch of people, about 18, and we sat in a room in San Francisco for 3 years, off and on, 3 days a month. And we finally got a preamble, 21 principles and a purpose statement and an organizational design. And we signed the charter on June 26th, 2000. We finally put all the pieces of the puzzle together. We have a global council. We have a staff. We have an endowment. We have work going in all kinds of countries. We now are embracing our purpose to end religiously motivated violence. And in a world of Gaza and Israel and Ukraine and Russia, peacemaking is more important now than it was 25 years ago. So you ain't seen nothing yet. We're just starting. Invite me back in 25 years and I'll tell you how we did.